We're going to use the calculator to create a scatter plot. So I've got some data here. I realize it's a little tough to read, but you'll be able to see it a little bit better when I enter it into my calculator. I'm going to look for a relationship between age, and then there's the other one that I chose. That one's cholesterol level. So I'm going to start by inputting my ages in, and to do that, I'm going to go to the stat menu, which is right here. So I go ahead and hit stat. I'm going to edit data, which is already chosen for me, so I can hit the enter button from here. So stat and then edit. And I'm going to put my data into L1. If you happen to not have an L1, then you want to choose L2 or L3. I think most of us have L1. And if you don't and you want L1, let me know and I can put it back in for you. Well, I already have data here. The best thing to do rather than typing over existing data is to clear it. So I go all the way up to my list name. Oops, I went too far. So I go all the way up to my list name, and once I'm there, I stop, and I notice that I've got all of the data here listed at the bottom. Don't hit delete, because that will delete your entire list. Instead, I want to clear it. Leave the list but empty. So I'm going to hit clear, followed by enter. I have two sets of data, so I'm going to put the other data into L2. So I arrow up to the L2 name, I clear, and then hit, oops, I think I hit something wrong, so quit, and I'm going to go back to stat, and then edit, clear, and then enter. Let me see if I can zoom in just a little bit more so you can see now as I'm typing into my calculator. Okay, that's better. So I'm going to go ahead and just enter in my data now. So as I'm entering my data, I'm going to start with L1, and I'm just going to type in each of the numbers followed by enter. So here I go. So 27, 18, 32, 24, 19, 56, 65, did I get that right? Yep. 36, 43, and 47. Now I'm going to arrow over, and I'm going to enter in my data for L2, and that was the cholesterol levels. Here they are. So again, I'm just typing in the numbers and hitting enter. Make sure that when you start, you're at the first data spot. So notice it says L2 data 1. You don't want to be here where it says L2 equals what? Okay, so I'm at L2 data 1, and now I'm ready. 193, 210, 196, 208, 188, 206, 240, 215, 201, 215. And I should have ended at the same place, and I did. So I've got a 47-year-old with a cholesterol level of 215, a 43-year-old with a cholesterol level of 201, and so forth. Look at this 19-year-old who has a cholesterol level of 188. So it looks like there might be a relationship between age and cholesterol level. It seems like some of the younger people in our study have lower cholesterol levels, not everybody, but have lower cholesterol levels than the people that are older. In order to take a visual of that, we're going to do a scatter plot. So I'm going to leave my edit screen here. So to leave there, I'm going to hit second and then quit. So second, quit. I want to do a stat plot, which is right here. So I'm going to go second, stat plot. And it lets you choose one of the plots. You want all of these to be off except the first one. And if some of them are on, that's fine. I'll show you how to correct that in a second. But I want you to choose plot number 1. I want you to make sure it's on. If it happens to look like this, where it's off, you're going to just arrow onto on and hit enter. Now if you go down to the graph types, there's a lot. We're not using all of these. We're only going to use the first one, which is the scatter plot. So again, you want to arrow onto the one that you want and hit enter. And then these are your lists. So mine already say list 1 and list 2. Yours might not. You want to graph both of these lists. So I'm actually going to clear these. Don't clear them if you're, say, L1 and L2. I'm going to clear them so that I can enter them in again. I want L1. I don't need to type L1, because if you go to number 1 on your calculator, you'll notice that up above number 1 is L1. So in order to type in L1, I'm going to go second, followed by number 1, and that puts L1 on my screen. If you needed to do the same, let me clear this, and you need L2 and Y, which is what we need. I'm going to hit second, followed by number 2. You can choose whatever mark you want. That's great. So you can go ahead and choose that. But once you're done here, then you're ready to graph. I'm going to hit my Y equals screen next. And when you're graphing this, you want your screen to look like mine. You don't want anything in these spots. If there was something, say there was like x squared minus 5 or something like that, which I didn't actually type that in there correctly, but if there was something here, you just want to arrow to the equation and hit clear and then enter. So you want to make sure these are all cleared, so clear and then enter. And now your plots, you only want plot 1 highlighted. If plot 2 or plot 3 was highlighted, so I'll highlight 1, all I need to do to unhighlight is to arrow over to it and hit enter. So enter highlights and unhighlights. Okay, so now I want to graph it, but I want to make sure I'm in the right viewing screen. Calculator does a super nice job of that. I'm going to go to zoom, and then I'm going to look for zoom stats since I'm zooming in on data. This one used to be called zoom data, so if you have an older calculator it might say zoom data, but I'm going to choose zoom stats. That will automatically set the viewing screen up for the data I just typed in, which is really nice. So from here I've chosen zoom stat, I just hit enter. Yeah, and there's my scatter plot. Okay, I think we were kind of right on the money. It looks like there's just a gradual trend here. Remember that we put the ages in X, so as the ages increase, those cholesterol levels increase. We could use this to find a representative line. A really great way to analyze your data now is to use the trace button. So if I use the trace button, it will go from point to point. So it's landed on the first point that I typed into the lists, which was the 27-year-old at a cholesterol level of 193. If I use my right and left arrow keys, it will go to the next value I typed in. Well, that was an 18-year-old with a cholesterol level of 210. I think that this lowest point here and this point right here, if I drew a line through that, can you see how that would be a nice representative line? I'm going to use those 2 points to create a line that represents the trend in this data. So I'm going to keep arrowing until I find those. Let's see, not that one, not that one. Ah, there it is. That was the 19-year-old at 188. I'm going to write that down. So 19, 188. And then I want to keep arrowing until I find that one, not that one, no. There it is, of course, almost the last one. So that was a 47-year-old at 215. So I'm going to use this point here and this point here, and if you look, it kind of draws a line right through the middle of the data, which would be a really, really nice trend line to use. So let me take my calculator off here. I'm going to zoom back out, and then, so let me zoom back out, and then we will find a nice line that fits the data. See, there's where I, does that line it up? There, okay. So there's where I put my 2 points. So I'm going to go ahead and use, let's see, ages and cholesterol level. So I'm going to go ahead and put together an equation, y equals mx plus b. Y, that's my cholesterol level. So cholesterol level is equal to m, which is the slope, x, which is the age, remember x list, or x list, y list, plus b. Okay, so we've got the slope. Let's find the slope first. M is the change in y over the change in x, or y minus y over x minus x. So if we do this, it'd be 215 minus 188, or whichever order, it doesn't matter. But in the denominator, if you started with 215 for your y's, you better start with 4 for your x's. So 4 minus 19. I'm going to put these in parentheses so I can do it in my calculator in a single step. So in my calculator, let's quit here. So second quit. I'm going to type in 215 minus 188 divided by 4 minus 19. Oh, that person wasn't 4 years old, were they? I think that person was, did you really write 4? I think that person was not 4, but 47. Okay, it took me a minute to figure it out. I don't want that. I want 47 minus 19. Okay, so the 47-year-old. Okay, 47 minus 19. So we've got a slope of 0.9. So let's see what this does to our equation so far. So our equation so far says cholesterol level is equal to M, which is 0.9, times age plus B. Well, I also need to find what B is in order to come up with a formula. Well, I have a couple of ages and cholesterol level pairs. Let's pick up that one that I fixed. The 47-year-old has a cholesterol level of 215. And let's go ahead and put those two in for cholesterol level and age, and that will find us B. There are multiple ways to find the equation of the line. This is just one of them. Some of you might use the point slope formula, and that's just fine. I'm going to do it this way, though. So as I'm calculating 0.9 times 47, I get 42.3, 215. I'm going to subtract 42.3, subtract 42.3, and then I end up with 215 minus 42.3 is 172.7. So 172.7 equals B. Okay, where was my formula? Here it is. So my formula was cholesterol level equals M times age plus B. So if I put that into, get some more paper here, so if I put that into a final statement, I can say cholesterol level equals 0.9 times age plus B, which was 172.7. Or if you want to use your Y and your X notation, you can. Y equals 0.9 times age, which was X, plus 172.7. Now we can use this to make predictions. So based on our trend line, and we had some data values in different places, right? That's a really beautiful looking graph. But based on our trend line now, we can make some predictions. So for example, what would the predicted cholesterol level be for somebody who is 50 years old? Well, that cholesterol level would be 0.9 times their age plus 172.7. So 0.9 times 50 plus 172.7 is about, so based on our trend line, our linear regression, about 217.7.